Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. When it comes to CCTV surveillance footage, it goes a long way, very important in collecting evidence and possibly alibis. How does it apply within the Noah Presgrove case though? Very limited. Now the only supposed surveillance footage which was successful claimed in the background was at that mini-mart, that shop, that store in Terrell, where alcohol was bought by the likes of Avery Combs at whatever point in which Caden Pressey was alongside with her. That time, that date was never given, but it was mentioned by Caden in the past. Never got brought up in the podcast. Just an interesting little point there, and it's never been corrected either. Maybe there's no need to, but I thought I'd just throw it in there. Welcome to those watching this live premiere. Share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat box. The theme of today is a map analysis of locations of interest with CCTV footage surveillance, looking for cameras, the angles, the perspectives, what they could have picked up on, or what they should have done at least, because as a bit of a backstory, when it comes to the surveillance cameras at the party house, there's a handful of them. I don't know where exactly because I couldn't quite see them at the time, and there might be some inside. Supposedly trail cameras as well in the area because it's been rural. But supposedly the cameras didn't pick up on anything because they weren't working as Stevie Howard claimed. But she did add on by saying the cameras did pick up footage of the Texas boys leaving. Well, I think it's the Texas boys, or at least some people, party goers, leaving. And I'm guessing that would be after Noah's departure from the party, at least. Departure from the land, who knows, but at least the party. Because take in consideration, you got the party house and then you've got the party. The party is within the house, and that's why it's called party house. If Noah left the party, exited the building, and no one could find him inside, then he could be classified as missing from the party, but not in a serious way, right? You remember when friends who may know you are like, where's he gone? I can't find him. He's missing from the party. But is he missing from the land? Language, wording is everything. And some humans don't acknowledge that, which is very unfortunate. But anyway, if you are interested in videos like that, those discussions, the language, the wording, analysing, you can check back to my channel. Recent videos, video last night, gave some opinions here and there, very deep, very detailed, very important. If you did miss out on any, if the notifications didn't tell you that I've uploaded a video, that's a shame. But top right corner of the screen, click on that I symbol, you'll be able to find it there, and the playlist as well, and catch up. You can leave all your comments, thoughts and reactions to today's video discussion down below in the comment section. You'll also find a pinned comment by me if you do want to support this channel. Shout out to Cleo for her support, I think, this morning. Very good to see, of course. Any familiar faces I've not seen in a while? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, because with so many new people come on in, people from the past, you may not see as much now. But in some aspects, some people from the past, you don't want to see again. So that's the benefit of moving from case to case. Do I ever return back to other cases? It depends, right? I mean, the Kenny Veach one. But certain cases require focus. To be going from one to another would mean mistakes being made. And we don't want that, do we? We don't want too many of them. But yeah, just to divert attention back to this whole purpose of the video, CCTV surveillance, the mini-mart footage there. Have we seen it? No. Did Jack Newton see it? Supposedly, or at least he was told it, and then whoever before that. As for the one that owns or runs that mini-mart store, I don't know their name. Is it really relevant? If you do want to add the name down below because it could help others, feel free to do so, that'd be appreciated. But what's the whole purpose of this mini-mart? Well, I can apply it street view imagery shortly so you can see it for yourself and the meaning, the purpose behind it. I did do a separate analysis video of this if you want to check it out on my channel. So I will keep it short today regarding that area. But beyond that, north, heading north to the party house, heading north to where the body was found, a mile onwards, I mean, the cameras, buildings, what's going on? Rural area, do rural areas tend to have a lot of surveillance? Not really. But at the same time, you'd think it would make sense to have more cameras, especially when there's less people about or there's less houses about, and you may feel alone, or you may feel, yeah, they could get many visitors passing by, especially if it's near a highway, coming and going, and you're just by the side, down a country road. It's all quiet, dark, spooky. To protect yourself, maybe to use this footage in the future as evidence if you ever got burgled. I mean, burglary, theft, robbery. Certain crimes may not be as high in rural areas compared to urban areas, but still, you could be considered, in a way, in a more vulnerable situation in rural areas than if you're in a busy, crowded place. Because a busy, crowded place, you've got more cameras to your disposal, to your help, witnesses about. It makes sense, doesn't it? And when you think about it, when it comes to the missing person cases and true crime stuff, just about everything that I've looked at and covered has occurred in rural areas. Aidan Clune, missing person, rural area. Noah Presgrove, not missing, but a true crime case, supposedly, or possibly a true crime case. Rural area, found on the highway, dead. Dylan Rounds, missing person, then found dead, true crime. Rural area, Lucent, Utah. Christine Passe Parker, Eugene Mountains, Nevada. Missing person, found dead. Succumbed to the environment. Okay. Rural areas. Was there any more examples? Kenny Beach, Nevada. Mojave Desert. Little Jomay Canyon. Supposedly missing out there. Maybe. There's evidence to suggest other directions, but still, all these rural areas, but they don't have that many cameras, or they may not have any at all. In this case, though, there's a higher opportunity. I know you've got Terrell, you've got a town nearby. It's much closer to the party house than it was in the Dylan Rounds case, which was a 27 or 25 point something mile distance. Big difference between that, isn't there? Cameras over there aren't going to reach over here. Terrell, cameras there aren't going to reach to the party house, but luckily the party house has its own cameras, but they're just not working. Or supposedly that's what's been claimed, they weren't working. And that's very disappointing, because this is the one case which I've got involved with, which just happens to have potential cameras, and they're not working. How typical is that, right? It's kind of frustrating. I'm sure it's more frustrating for those within the case or the victim's family, knowing that could have been key evidence and due to recklessness or not keeping care of cameras, just not working. And the reason why you could counter it and say it's really weird if they truly aren't working, if supposedly high-tech or state-of-the-art good quality cameras were installed in the first place, obviously there was a reason to have them for security, for safety. Good quality cameras, so they last long, so they can pick up clear detail. Obviously there's an intent to have the best quality or decent quality cameras to ensure your safety, to ensure possible evidence or proof if it's ever needed in the future, if anything bad did occur on land, on the property, or near or inside of the building. So if you put a level of care and effort into having good cameras and paying for them, a range of them, you'd think you'd also put in the care and attention in maintaining them, right? There could be a but. So with hearing about Stevie Howard, people have said Stevie Howard lives in Berry, Texas, however you want to pronounce it. Okay. At what point did she live there? In the past, I've heard stories that down the dirt road of the party house, down at the bottom, there was a trailer, and the mother, Stevie Howard, lived there, but no longer, right? What am I getting at with this? Well, if you got up to a point, Carter and Avery Combs in the party house, and the mother was the one, to install the cameras or buy them, get someone in to install them. If she moved on after that, at what time? Did she move to Berry, Texas before or after that party of 2023? Because all I'm going to say is, if it was before the party of 2023, weeks before, months before it, I could understand why, and possibly if the cameras were faulty, not working properly, or just dead completely, okay? Because if the grown-up adult was the one to have them installed and placed in the first place, you'd kind of expect them to be the ones to maintain it as well. But if they weren't present, living on site at the time, it would have got neglected, because you don't think that Carter Combs or Avery Combs would have been thinking, oh, let's check our cameras out and let's make sure that they're working or not. They probably wouldn't care. They might have their heads in the cloud. They might be thinking about the party more so rather than surveillance footage. So if it gets neglected and it breaks down or malfunctions and it's not fixed, well then when the time comes of the event, it's not going to record it, or it's not going to work properly, right? But it depends at what time when Stevie left that place. Was it before or after? If it was after, well then you could say, well, the cameras should have been checked on a regular basis, or a monthly, a yearly basis. I don't know how often people check their cameras to see if they're working or not, but you know, there's a bit of like a responsibility. But you know, if you're determined enough to have cameras up in the first place, you'd think you'd also ensure that they are working constantly, just to protect yourself further, to double check things. It's like if you had new locks or extra bolts added onto your door for your own safety, whether that be because you're paranoid or you just want to be safe, you want to be very cautious, you might be in a rough area, okay, you have all those safety features, precautions added in, you would think from there on then you would be cautious, as in just making sure that the door locks, shuts properly. You're not just going to shut it and think, oh well, that's it, got all the safety measures in without locking it and then going away. Now, that's what I'm trying to put in perspective with this camera situation, because as I said, CCTV footage, very important, many different ways. Normal cameras, the ballpoint cameras, little tiny cameras, web cameras possible, but more so in recent time, Ring doorbell cameras. The Ring doorbell cameras, very, very useful. Bit of an invasion of privacy though for neighbours nearby, of course, and it's bit annoying, but when bad times come about, if you've got a Ring doorbell camera, it can really help. And do they have a Ring doorbell camera at the party house? I don't know. I couldn't see it myself. I mean, you look at the Jasmine Milan photo, you couldn't see any cameras or doorbells, because where she was positioned, she would have been covering up the frame of the door anyway, because sometimes doorbell cameras can be on the side, on the left wall, right wall, or they could be like right in the middle but lower down on the door. She was covering it all with her face and body, so you wouldn't have been able to see anyway. But if anyone can clear it up, was there a doorbell camera on the front door near to the porch? Because if so, that would be the perfect angle to see what direction Noah supposedly wandered off and at what point, right? Even if it was earlier on, it would have been great if the CCTV footage was present to see, you know, did he go anywhere else in between? And what about the shed as well? Now, jumping a bit ahead, because we probably should be narrating this whilst looking at the photos. So before I talk any further, let's head on over to some footage. I'm guessing let's start off with Google Earth, the map analysis, if you want to call it that, because we can look at the mini-mart, we can look at buildings nearby and just check for cameras, and I can explain my reasoning behind it, because I said we needed to catch up on the mini-mart and the significance behind that and the footage there. So don't go anywhere, let's go on to the maps. So this time round, with using the maps, it is quite bland because I'm doing it raw this time. We're not using the markers because I've got a good idea of where the party house is. It's right there. You know, when you get more familiar with the area, you don't need the markers and pointers. And I know some of the markers were key timestamps, but we're not really looking at timestamps today or a timeline. We're looking at cameras, areas of opportunity, okay? And some areas might have more opportunities than other spots. You know, when you've got buildings like this here, what could they show? What could they provide, right? Whilst it might not show footage at the house, it could show who comes, who goes, who leaves, and at what time, if that's even possible, right? Because a car that passes by, would the camera footage show the license plate? Would it show people inside the driver's seat, the passenger seat? I don't think you'd be able to see who's driving or who's inside, especially if it's moving quick on a highway. What about license plate? I don't know. It could be a bit blurry. It depends what the quality of the camera is, and you know, how good are these cameras nighttime, early hours of morning? Do they have night vision, thermal vision? How good is the quality? How secure is it? So what we have here sounds like a grid section. Oh, it's neatly lined, laid up. This is Terrell, the town, right? Not that far away from the party house. And then further down here, we've got the casino. Now, you'd be familiar with the casino because we checked that last time round, which is an individual event post-death of Noah Presgrove, supposedly, right? We don't know if it's 2023. We don't know if it's 2024. But just as a brief recap, eyewitness, a cleaner at the casino, inside, supposedly, of the male bathroom or toilets, and saw 3 guys in which they're the party goers from the party in 2023, and one of which decided to place a hat on top of a bin. And that hat looked similar to Noah's. Is it groundbreaking? Is it enough? I don't think so. But there were some people that got triggered by me saying, why are you trying to discredit this person? Why are you trying to discredit that person? It's not discrediting, it's called being realistic. And clearly, those humans don't have it. They lack it. So, we can just briefly go here to point out what we're looking for today. You think of cameras. Is it easy to see cameras? If you're inside of a store, a shop, shopping centre, to Americans, a mall, it'll probably be very easy to notice cameras. The ways which to stand out the most are the typical white cameras, okay? So I think there are cameras on the black post there, and if not, you look back to the casino, further back, you can clearly see those white cameras. They're definitely cameras, okay? And even on top of the building, covering the perimeter. That's an example of what we're looking for, the typical surveillance cameras. You get the ballpoint cameras as well. Sometimes they're black. You get the Ring doorbell cameras as well. They do stand out. They've got like a base to it or a rectangle shape with a ring. Sometimes it glows, other times it doesn't. Depends if it's in use or not. I don't know if we'll be able to find any of them in this location because it means going up close to a house, and I don't think that's possible. But what other examples do we have? Dong. I know it's Doug. Orchard. Oh, it's peaches. There we go. Any cameras there? Not that this is relevant to the case, but I just wanted to check nearby for any other examples. I mean, I can see a couple of little dots on under the roof area, on the wall, the sides, but I don't know if those dots are motion lights, well, any detectors, alarm systems, but you'd expect certain places, especially businesses, to have cameras, of course. Advertise here. Warlike Wrath, come in quick. What else do we have? Bulls for sale. Oh, well, that's interesting. Not that we're going to be buying any bulls, unless there's any people in the chat that want to buy them. But it says Wilcoxon. Now, is that because this land is owned by the likes of the Wilcoxon family, Bub Wilcoxon? I know at the party house and that land there, the significance with Wilcoxon, and I think there was like plans to unearth the ground or, you know, turn the soil over or something. I don't know if that's actually happened yet or not, but with this being a lot further down, this advertisement, I'm not sure if they're selling bulls on that land or further up. So that's a little reference there, kind of within the case, and those party family members, Wilcoxon. Interesting. Let's have a closer look up this way to this board, and then we'll move on. Reboost today, so yeah, there's not really much going on. Some houses over there, but they're too far away. So the first significant point, of course, would be Terrell, the mini mart. How far am I? Oh, not too far away. Just here, where you see that red building? This is the mini mart, even though I can't quite read where it says mini mart, but it is. Okay, ATM, the flag, the gas station, petrol station. It depends, you know, if you're from America or the UK, how you word it. There are cameras present. Where are they exactly? That's the question. Just trying to work it out. If they're easy to see, great. If they're hard to find, that could apply elsewhere when checking about, such as the party house, because like with the trail cameras, when Justin Roy was commenting on it, he said, I don't know where they are at, where they're located. Any clear cameras? The cameras would have to be facing towards the highway, the main road here, to determine the traffic levels, because that's the first significant point within the case. And there were contradictions along the way, but this mini mart, bit of a small building, but kind of wide, the place where Avery Combs was at, the party girl, along with Caden Pressey and some other people, buying alcohol. Caden didn't participate in that because of his age, but he was watching Avery buy alcohol. Is that the beginning of the party? On what day? It was never revealed, so it's kind of lacking a bit of context, but yeah. And then the talk about the traffic situation. So you think of Noah Presgrove, the early stories of hit and run. Could he have been accidentally hit by a moving vehicle? Could it have been a semi-truck? Some kind of vehicle early hours of the morning? But in terms of the story that was going across, or what was being pushed, was the supposed fact at the time, which was passed on by Jack Newton, but also mentioned by some other people. I don't know who exactly. Was it Stevie Howard? I don't know, but I do remember hearing Jack Newton's name mentioned, and mention it himself about the traffic situation. There was no traffic early hours of the morning. And why? Because that's what the cameras said in this area. Where are those cameras exactly? I'm trying to look for them at this moment in time, right? But the cameras would have had to been pointing down that way, so far down, and possibly even up that way too, towards the casino. So then you could tell or determine the flow of traffic. And if you don't see anything passing by, yeah, you can say, well, there's basically no traffic. But you fast forward onwards, not within the case or progression, but more so the events on Monday morning, that at least when it was actually called in officially to authorities at 5:43 and also 5:53 by Tyler and then Tyler Hardy, two separate individuals in their own trucks, vehicles, who were, or at least one of them was coming down south towards Terrell, and then the other one, I think, was on the other side of the road, and one had to turn around because they couldn't stop, but in the end they both stopped at the highway, much further up that way north, where Noah's body was at. And you'll be familiar with the location because we'll get to it afterwards. Well, obviously there was vehicles, right? Two guys in a vehicle, separate vehicles, driving on down, but much further up the highway. This highway is a long, kind of like a long straight road which goes on and on and on for miles. But there are turn-off points like what you see here. Further up on the left, on the right. Further up that way, you can turn off to the right, if you're on the right side of the road, and then get into Terrell round the back way. And that would probably cancel out these cameras. If you're driving down here, cameras would detect you. If you were coming down south towards Terrell and you took a turn, a left turn further up that way, you'd be able to get into Terrell, the town, and avoid these cameras. So one point across is, the original points made, and like what Jack was saying, how, well, there was no traffic. Oh, but by the way, there was a hit and run. Well, if there's no traffic, then there'll be no hit and run, because if there's no vehicles, then you can't get hit by a vehicle. But if it's much further on, which it is, the chances of vehicles being present can be more likely, and was the case with those calls being made by those ones who claim to be first on scene in their mindset, right? So there was contradictions there, not exactly a good look, but you can say both are correct. You could say, well, traffic in this area specifically, there was almost or virtually non-traffic, but further down the highway where there's roads, turn-off points, there was traffic, right? You can have both situations, two different areas. Here, there's surveillance, and further on, there's no surveillance, right? You think of highway cameras, you get that. But here, you don't. Not in the area where Noah was found at, and possibly taken to. And the vehicles passing on by, which was supposedly a line of them. No cameras there to say whether they were there or not, but the calls highlighted it then. So, yeah. And they were parked up there once others arrived, so they were obviously there to be on the scene, on the highway. Even though the cameras weren't there to prove it, physically, they were there, and the calls made. So, that was the original, one of the aspects within this case, the whole CCTV footage, how even with cameras in this situation, and it supposedly proved that there was no traffic, but they were also claiming it was a hit and run, they contradicted themselves. They messed up big time with that in terms of poor language and wording, right? But I basically cleared up just now. It just goes to show that CCTV footage is important, but it can only go so far, literally in distance, because these cameras aren't going to be zooming in like NASA to the party house or anything like that. Not possible whatsoever. So that's why you would head further north down that way, which we will do very shortly, to see what's the closest camera to the area, to the scene of interest, and see what could it have picked up, what would it have, right? But before we do that, I just wanted to have another look at possible cameras. Can I see any cameras? What would they look like exactly? That's just an overhead line with a built-in lamp or light. I've never seen that before, to be honest with you. Hunt Brothers Pit. Oh, just pizza, that's all. Apache Highway US 81. Let me know if you can see any cameras. Hidden camera in the tree. No. Massive tyre, bloody hell, that's massive. Wow. Okay, I think there might be a camera just underneath that red roof overhang, possibly. Possibly. But I can't see any cameras at the station area, unless they're hidden, or I've just got bad eyesight. But obviously the cameras would have to be in a certain position to be able to detect the road. And to be honest, the closer it is to the building, the less width you're going to get, aren't you? If you just focus on this area just in front. If anything passes by, there's traffic. If nothing passes by, then it must mean that there's no traffic. Well, there could have been traffic further up that way. It just decided to turn off a road out of sight of camera. And there could have been traffic down there, which decided to turn off as well. So it's not the be-all and end-all when it comes to this location here, okay? And we'll just have a look further down here. Red vehicle there. And whilst we are looking at street view, not that it's guaranteed, but if you notice any vehicles which look awfully similar to some of the party goers or parents, feel free to leave a comment down below. Nope, I can't see the typical standard cameras, unless there's one back there on that pole, unless that's a light or a pipe. But yeah, it's been claimed that there's cameras here, and you would expect cameras to be present, but as for how they stand out, they're not exactly easy to see compared to other areas. And one more example, you got this other building down here. Is it a mechanic? Scrap? Oh God, where has it got me now? What does that say? Cranberry Tree Salon Gifts. Oh boy. Truck Diesel Auto. Ah. Okay. But you can actually go down these streets of Terrell. Okay. Oh, actually, let's just try it as an example. I think this might, I don't know if this is the entranceway. Is there any cameras there? Doorbell cameras? I don't know. Doesn't look like it. No. Let's try another area. This building looks a bit more established. Any cameras? It's blurred in some areas, which I don't know why. Come on. Can I see any cameras? I mean, is that supposed to be the porch, the front entrance, or is there a side? Not everyone will have cameras on the property. Ring chimes. And a doorbell camera there, not from how it looks. That could have some cameras possibly. But yeah, that was just messing about, having a look. Okay. Let's go back onto the highway. And I think that's the way where we were before. And this stretch of the road, obviously hardly any cameras, if none at all. And when you get to these blind spots, it becomes limited, doesn't it? But I think it's this one here. This is the point where you can turn off, drive on down, and you can get into the town of Terrell, like down the back road, or like one of them, for example. So if you're coming past a party house and you're coming south towards Terrell, you could turn left. You're coming down this way, turn left here, to drive down this way. And then the town's over there. And you're probably going to be out of sight of the mini-mart cameras. So, yeah, you can still get traffic even nearby, just out of sight of the cameras. But to state that there's zero traffic is very abrupt and incorrect. Okay? And speaking of that stop sign, I think Watch Your Crazy didn't stop at one of them. Anyway, it's quite a long journey down here, but you know what? We'll simulate it, okay? Let's just simulate it. Driving on down. Yeah, we're on the wrong side of the road. Oh well, here's what it is. Speed limit 65. Interesting. Got a bit of a hard shoulder there. Not exactly wide. You're probably going onto the grass area. Do you get those bumpy strips, though, down here? Doesn't look like it. That's interesting. It's further down when you start seeing it. There we go. Can you see it now? That's just to remind you to stay on the road. And it stops right there. Why does it stop there? Why does it not continue on? Is it because you're getting closer to the town, so it becomes less of a highway? Even though it still is a highway. And if it is a highway and it's got these markers on, they should go all the way down. Are they on the other side? Yeah, I guess up to a certain point. Unless the quality of the camera is very blurry and you don't quite see it. That is a possibility. And can anyone explain what's all those weird black lines? I've noticed it in America a lot. Is it just filling in the cracks and the gaps? It's because, like, when it comes to the UK, if they're resurfacing roads, they'll do a portion of it. They won't use little lines. They'll do like a certain perimeter. You know, may do the whole road possibly, or so far down, but cover it all and not just little lines like this. It looks so messy when it's like that. You can see further up there is a building. I don't know if from here you can see the party house. Probably not. But for this building on the right, which we may or may not have been to before, we'll have to take a look at that. But what's that dirt road just there? Of interest. And you know what would be interesting? I don't know if anyone has the location, but you know, like when Caden Pressey was saying how on Sunday, later into the day, but before night time, before it got dark, Caden, Noah, Jack, and some other people went out hunting, shooting animals. Where did that actually happen? Does anyone know? Were they driving on the highway? Were they driving down, you know, were they driving off-road? It'd be interesting to know. Would there be any, like, bullet casings spread about? Interesting. Looks like we're going through the different times with the colour changes. So, looks like some kind of house, place of living, but also a farm related. like a barn or a shed there. Significance within the case, the theme of it at least. Can't see any cameras on the side there, but there could be further on. Mailbox on the outside, which is normal. If you notice any cameras, let me know your thoughts, because something like this is very, very significant with the case. You want to learn or know about who came to the party and who left and at what time. Did people leave before Noah or did they leave after Noah? And what direction did they go in? Did they just happen to go in the direction, the same one where Noah's body was found at, or not? A building like this, the shed, or like a house like that, if cameras were present and they were pointing towards the driveway and even the highway, you would actually see footage of cars, vehicles passing by. Would you be able to detect and determine who is who exactly? I don't know personally, especially on a highway where vehicles will be moving much faster and there could be motion blur as well. But it's worth a try, isn't it? Even just to check for traffic levels, who comes in and who comes out and passes by. But being so close to the highway is quite significant, this. But my question would be, if there are any locals, and like how, you know, there might be some locals that watch my videos, in general, have any locals near to the party house, maybe a bit further away, if they do live nearby, has there been any questioning? Like, have any locals been questioned as to what did you see? Did you hear anything? Do you have any camera surveillance footage? Did police ever do that or not? If you can answer, leave a comment down below. Now, we did look at this building last time, you'll be familiar with, and I did point out about cameras, but I didn't go into as much depth. That's why I thought I'd do it now. Is this a place of living, or is it more so an area someone owns, goes to grow their crops or plants, do a bit of farm work, but they don't actually live here? I know when it came to the Dylan Brown's case, you had parcels of land owned by different people who weren't even from the area, didn't even live there, and the land was just bare and blank and empty. But here, there were clearly buildings, there was a vehicle parked up, but as for activity levels, maybe not much going on. But I can't quite see any cameras, and that's unfortunate. But I don't mean to say dismiss it completely. Could there be any trail cameras? There's that to take in mind. Are trail cameras normally on the ground level surface, or they're raised higher up? In the Kenny Beach case, they were lower down on the ground, on the base. What does that say? Brian Angus bulls. Is that different to Wilcoxon bulls? There's a lot of bull, but I don't see one in sight. But there might be a lot of bull coming out of people's mouth in the case. Empty fields, very vast and far. In a way, you could argue and say it's probably a good thing it wasn't a missing person case, because it'd be like finding a needle in a haystack, like the Dylan Brown's case, with how vast that was. Because look at all the land. Yeah, so we've got some bulls there. We do have, what is that, another building on the right? Will it allow me to go down? Nope, naughty naughty. I know you got these overhead lines, but you tend not to have cameras on them, unless there's an exception. Now, there's a post over there. I don't know if that's a camera. It must be sticking out of the post unless it's a light. It still looks to be an overhead line, though. I don't know if that's like a ballpoint camera. Well, I don't think anyone's going to be living in that. Oh my, needs a bit of repairing. Combined harvester looks inactive. Heavy D, gotta come on down, Heavy D. Diesel Brothers, gotta rescue it right now. That'll be another video, wouldn't it? There's an active tractor in the fields over there. Tends to really be nothing on the left-hand side, but you start seeing the forest form, and the interest with the forest is beyond that, I believe, is the Red River, Texas border, and maybe it becomes more obvious further down. This connects onto the site of the party location. So look ahead now, right, beyond that point. Very desolate, very open and empty. No buildings, no cameras. This is what the problem is, right? So the next place you would seek to would be the party house itself, and we could be approaching that just over there. Let's get a bit closer. I don't know if people find this relaxing or if people have got motion sickness. Either way, we're nearly there. I've never really gone all the way, so you get an idea. Is there something through there, though? Or not? Is it a fence? I don't know. I thought I saw, like, an item. But you know what? You remember where people are talking about Bigfoot and all of that? Open road, probably not. Woodland area, over that way. If you wanted to put your argument across, then you can do so. What the hell's that? It's probably a tree or something. It just looks like it's like a figure popping out of the bush. Let me get closer to it. I don't know what that really is, to be honest. It's probably just a tree. Yeah. That's just a tree. It looked like I saw a face on it on the side. That was a bit creepy. Now, this is a little bit interesting. Don't know if anyone else agrees, but you know, like how you got the highway, you got the hard shoulder, and then you've got concrete. Now, a bit overgrown, out of use, I guess. Bottle there dumped. And then it comes to an end just here. Oh, hold on a minute. So just further up that way, on the left, across the tracks, I think that's the beginning of the party house. If I just move down a little bit. Yes, it is. Down that road is the party house. And we'll be going on to the other footage, okay? Up close to look for possible cameras of some sort. But yeah, it stood out to me. There's this little patch here. If anyone can explain it, feel free. Just because it's like extended, makes the highway a bit wider. Why is it white? Because it's just like, I guess, the material itself. Patchy, so it's not really been used that frequent. Is it just the spot where vehicles pull in on the side? But why is it only here? I've not really seen it anywhere else up to now, at least. Seems to be the same. So, yeah, interesting. Was there some kind of foundations present here at some point or not? Just stood out to me. So let me know your thoughts now. Let's move down this way. So we're here. Further down that way, a mile on, is where the body of Noah was found on the left-hand side. Okay? No more cameras. We've not seen any more since. See a few of these like little red signs and posts, whatever they are, but not cameras. No cameras there either, which is unfortunate. No lamps, lights either. Sometimes lights, lampposts can have cameras on, but they don't here, so that's another wasted opportunity. I think that's a grid there, which goes underneath the highway road. Crossing line, building over there. Now, I don't have a photo, an alternative one of that building, and I don't further down that way. So we'll probably have to talk about this first. I don't know if it's of anyone's interest, but you got like a tyre mark here, the skid mark. This probably would have been caused probably by pulling out onto the highway maybe, and the wheels spinning, but only one of them did. It depends how relevant this street view footage is. The only reason why I picked up on it in the past, and it probably doesn't mean much anymore, I only thought it was interesting in the past when hearing about the ATV side-by-side incident, right? I remember when I first heard about it and I was thinking, where did it happen? Did it happen on the highway? Did it happen just here? And how it was worded was it happened on site at the property, and Jack claimed that it happened round the back of the house. How true is that? I don't know. Yeah, you can see a faint black mark there as well. But, you know, with the Dylan Rounds case, you were looking for track marks, activity levels, especially in rural areas. One thing that hasn't really been talked about enough are footprints. Would there have been any footprints whatsoever? if Noah was to be walking anywhere. You think of dirt, ground, providing it's not too hard, the surface, maybe there's a dusted coating on top, or it's a bit squishy, the ground, depending, because obviously it wasn't raining at the time, so you take that into consideration. But even when you walk on dirt, depending the texture of it, it can leave a small, faint imprint in the ground, can't it? Right? Did it apply in the Kenny Leach case? Yeah, it did. It did, and that was all kinds of terrain and surface, so it could apply here as well. How long would it last for? Not that long. If you had a deep imprint in mud, that would last longer, depending on the weather changes as well. If it got cold or icy, it could break it up. That wasn't concern here at the time. But no footprints were really looked into. Was there any footprints or not? Do you think it's quite an important feature that within a case? I mean, yeah, I know you look for footprints when you're trying to retrace the steps of a person, of a missing individual. Okay, Noah was found on the highway down there. Oh, case closed. He's not a missing person, but he was never really truly a missing person. You don't need to be looking for footprints to see, oh, he's down that way. No, you look at footprints to check what other directions did people walk in, and was anyone walking? And if they were, why would they be? And if it's closer to here, then that would be more strange, because when you come down here and you're coming up, you're going to be in a vehicle likely because you're pulling out onto a highway. You're not going to be pulling out on foot unless there was some weird reason or something bad was happening in a rush. Desperation, who knows? But further down that way, closer to the property, any footprints, where would they have led to? If you didn't have cameras because they failed, could you have footprints which could determine where someone walked? Earlier on at the party, a handful of people, just Noah's footprints. I mean, Noah had his own shoes at some point. Did he wear his shoes all the time? I don't think he did. Some probably would have worn shoes for a certain length of time. You take in mind the heat levels and where you're at. But walking about, leaving prints. Oh, did someone go off in that direction? Is that when Noah cooled off? Is that when Noah was supposedly missing at one point on the Sunday night, and then afterwards returned back to the house by people looking for him? You know, just to reinforce these other little events along the way, even if it's a part of a timestamp, a timeline which happened earlier on, to confirm whether it did or didn't happen, to look for those cues, those clues, the camera footage. If only it worked, if only it showed Noah walking away, that could reinforce it. Or if it showed Noah walking away and then returning back on like a Sunday night, if there was a time where he needed to clear his mind, get away from things, and then it would reinforce what Sarah Longer said from what Jasmine Millan has said. But we're not seeing the physical proof or footage of it. And you know what, those in the background could say, well, we have it, we can't reveal it. Okay, fair enough, but you can't be expecting the general public to nod their heads and agree with it, even if they've not been shown the proof. Got to give and take, right? This building here, anyone lives in it, yes or no? I'm not too sure. Justin Roy, in his interview, if you remember, he was saying how I think there's a chance that there were people 25 years and older that were at the party, but maybe they weren't at the party all the time, that they were nearby in these other houses and buildings. Why would they be, though? And what condition are these houses and buildings in? Are they lived in regularly or not? And if not, what's the point in having them there? Is it for when visitors come on down, friends, groups, to stay in, if there's no room at the party house? You know what? I'm going to put it across right now. Why not? And we'll just do it street level. Not street level, this one. You got the party house here, right? 30 to 40 people present. Noah Presgrove, Monday morning supposedly, early on at some point, 3 AM onwards, I'm guessing, that Noah wanted to sleep in one of the girls' bedrooms, but was denied, and that other partygoers slept on chairs, sofas, the odd one sleeping on the floor. Not the best conditions, but you make do with what you've got. Could Noah have done that himself? Maybe. Was he picky about the situation? Did he want to actually sleep on a proper bed? Maybe. Well, if there was no room at the inn, is it the end of the world? Because what about the building down here, which has vehicles parked up? What about the trailer there? There's a trailer. The house there. That's more like a little barn shed thing. But there is property here in which you could stay in if there was no room at the party house, correct? And if that was occupied, as to who exactly, I don't know. But then you got that bloody house there, what we saw in Street View. You got 3 different houses, properties on the land, all owned by the same people, supposedly. If there was no room at the party house to sleep in, you had that building there and the building right down at the bottom of the road. Why weren't they taken up? Is it because you don't have access to them? They're not in good condition? People were already inside of those buildings? Well, if so, who were they? Justin Roy, I said, highlighted the possibility that there was adults there, older people who were coming and going from this building to the party house. What the hell is going on with these living conditions and arrangements? So, I think there's 2 critical points. Although we're talking about the surveillance footage, the footprints, the footprints, the living accommodation, the room, the space, small party house, 30 to 40 people pushing it, but you got other buildings nearby to spread the herd out. If anyone wants to clip this video or these areas, you can. I think it's down below near to the subscribe or the thumbs up button, or there's a drop down box menu. I think you can clip the video. You know, when there's like a key point or a key question mentioned by me, you can clip it, and then I think other people can view it in the future. And that's probably important, because when we do these longer videos, and if people didn't want to watch it all or had trouble finding a key point, if you clip the video, I think it records however long you want it to do. And then once that's done, then people can watch it in the future, I think. That could be useful, right? Like with me mentioning about the footprint situation and the living accommodation situation. So we're taking it in mind that there's multiple buildings nearby, and you could possibly stay in one of them if the other one is occupied or too full. Then it can revolve back to, do you honestly think that Noah would have left the property if he didn't have any room or space to sleep, when he probably would have had more than enough opportunities in alternative areas to stay at? Yes, so I don't think he would have ultimately threw his toys out the pram just because of that. He might have got a little bit frustrated. He might have wanted to cool off, and that just meant standing outside. But then trouble may have followed him. That's what I'm thinking. So me personally, I don't think that Noah walked away from the property onto the highway, all because of being denied, rejected on his offer of sleeping in one of the girls' bedrooms. I don't think that's what caused him to outright leave for good, okay? I just wanted to make that clear. Do I think that a possible argument which may have followed up or escalated outside have led to Noah trying to get away? There's a chance, possibly. I mean, because he didn't have his own vehicle at the time, he was limited to what he could do and where he could go. Now, if there was an argument following outside, or if he was about to get attacked, if Noah had his own vehicle with him, do you think he would have tried making an attempt to get to it and then drive away fast? Or would he have not had a chance if he was blindsided, ambushed, taken out unexpectedly? When it's in the moment, all of a sudden, you're not anticipating, your defense, your shield, your barrier is down. You're not ready for it. And that basically makes you vulnerable. And that can apply to anyone. Doesn't matter how big you are, small, fast, muscular, defined. Doesn't matter. Most people can be vulnerable at different times in different positions and scenarios. It's normal. It really is normal. You can even be vulnerable when you might be very strong, powerful, athletic, face to face with another individual, because that other individual may have an item on them, which puts you at a disadvantage. Or they might have backup, a 1-on-5, 5 guys against 1. It's not exactly fair, is it? So there's many different aspects to that. And I have, you know, added in elements of the beatdown, possibly. If you want to check that video out, that's just recently my actual analysis and opinion of the cause of death of Noah. Be sure to check it out when you do have time. But I think this is quite an interesting video. I don't know if I'll change the title or not, but yeah. Can't get any closer to those buildings. It does look overgrown, not exactly maintained, but is it livable inside? I don't know personally. Like a barn or a shed as well. How much activity does it get regularly? Probably not much at all. Just a party house mainly, or up to a certain point it did, because I saw recently online that supposedly Carter Combs, Avery Combs don't actually live at that party house anymore. They moved to Berry, Texas with the mother. I guess for safety reasons, because of the death threats and the property being damaged as it's been claimed online. So who actually lives here now? Is it just a ghost town? Is it completely empty? That's what I want to know. I mean, when you look at June 2024, there was a vehicle parked at the party house. As to whose vehicle it was, I don't know. Could anyone confirm it? That would be interesting. Right? Actually, I might put something else into perspective as well. I'll have to do the aerial footage shortly. But up to now, we've just not seen any cameras, and that's shit, isn't it? That's not good. But that's what this whole discussion is about. Where are the cameras? Where are they facing? The direction? What could they have picked up on? I don't know if there's cameras over there. We're not up close, and we can't get up close. Cameras down there? Well, we can't go any further, but we can though with the other photos, and I'll get to that right now. So what we're looking at first is actually the barn, the shed of, you know, on site at the party house, which you would see in the background of some of the party house footage when they were near to the front porch. So with, was it Avery or one of the girls running into some board, breaking it, and when Brylan slapped Noah and then ran away, you caught the glimpse of the shed in the background, and when Shady on the Saturday was slapping Noah in the beige khaki coloured shorts in the background, the shed, the barn, whatever you want to call it, the door was open, right? But then later on the Sunday, with Brylan slapping Noah, the door was closed. And, you know, it opens and closes. It's nothing that significant unless it's open at the time closest to when Noah wandered off, supposedly went missing. We talked about ambushes being dragged over to this place, because let's not forget that in Noah's mismatched shoes there was grass caught up in the laces. So that's significant, isn't it? Right? Could have been dragged in some way to collect that in his shoe. As for the necklace situation, could have been yanked or dragged for the chain to break as well. I don't know if there's a possibility that you could link that the grass collected in the shoelace of both shoes occurred at the same time as when Noah's chain broke, right? I mean, if you're being dragged by the neck, if you're wearing a top, your legs are dragging across the floor, it can collect dirt and whatever and grass. That's one way. If you were wearing a chained necklace and you were being dragged along, same thing. But at some point, if there's enough tension, it could cause the necklace, the chain to break off and then fall to the ground, possibly. If it was to happen at the same time, though, and if the chain that was broken, if it was in its full piece, just broken on the side of the highway, would that imply that the chain only broke when possibly Noah's body was dumped on the side of the highway? If it was dumped on the side of the highway, how would that chain break? If you're carrying a body, you're probably going to have your hands underneath the person's head, neck, and even the legs under the knees when carrying them that way. A fireman's carry over the shoulders. At not any point does it involve pulling on the neck, or if someone had a chain pulling on that, it wouldn't happen. But if you were dragging someone across the ground like a bitch, right? One of those dodgy situations. Talk about the Matrix. And it's like, yeah, you're going to be a good boy for me? Yeah, you're going to do what daddy says? I'm going to pull you by the chain. You're going to spit in my face? I don't think so. It's the other way around, bitch. You start dragging him by the chain, walking him like a dog, and then the chain breaks. Am I saying that's exactly what happened with Noah Presgrove? No, not in that way, but, you know, if you're being dragged and someone's holding the chain to drag you, eventually it could break. But why would you be dragging a body to the highway? You wouldn't. You wouldn't walk a mile, you wouldn't drag the body a mile. And even if you did, it would cause more scrapes and grazes than what was found on Noah's body, of course. So how would he have been placed on the side of the highway? Was he chucked? Was he thrown out of the vehicle? Was he gently placed there? Was he dragged out the vehicle and then dragged to the side? And that's what caused a few grazes and scrapes. And by being dragged out the vehicle onto the side, then the chain broke. I wonder. Again, we should be talking about the CCTV cameras, but there's just new ideas coming out of my mind on the spot. This is what happens when these discussion videos come out. There is a time and place. Even looking back and reading people's comments, new ideas and videos come out from all this. That's why it's important to do. So I said you can clip some of these clips, clip them, clip the video, do whatever you need to do if you wanted to reshare these points. If you felt like you didn't want to share this whole video to Reddit or Facebook because it takes too much time or people are less likely to watch the whole video, if it was just like a certain key moment, you can include the timestamp, you can tell other people about it if it's of interest, if it's of value, okay? But as for what we've seen on screen long enough by now, I can't see any cameras, can you? Maybe there isn't any. Like a white object around there, around about, but that seems a bit too low down. Can't really see any lights either besides that lamppost there, unless that lamppost does have a camera on somehow. Fucking wardrobe in the way. And then you got the building there. Or maybe not, if it won't let me zoom in, you dickhead. Can't see any cameras. Nope. But they could be out of sight, or they could be underneath that overhang where the roofing is. We don't have any photos from around the back though, unfortunately. I mean, out of all the party footage, what we've seen publicly, most of it seemed to occur either inside or outside on the front porch way, which we're looking at right now. What about round the back? Any footage of that? I mean, when looking on an old street view, I don't know how old it was, there was a trampoline round the back. If you look now, it's gone. So I don't know if that was there at the time of the party or not. But let me know if you see any cameras. And then that was there on the other side. Well, not on the other side, it was just on the right-hand side of the house, looking out from the front. There is clearly a light in the corner there, which isn't a camera. But I just personally can't see any of the cameras. And it's disappointing us, I'm going to be honest with you. Normally they're easy to see, but in this case, they're not. But supposedly there are cameras, and they're good quality ones. Probably that good quality that you can't see them. But maybe you can see them. Or maybe you've seen other photos which does depict them. I don't know if you'd see it from the party footage. I mean, I could have a quick look right now. I did have a quick look at the footage, what was, you know, in the public domain from outside to inside of the house, and I just couldn't see a single camera. I saw lights, but that was it. Even close to the porch, I just couldn't see them. Am I going to say that, well, it must mean that there's no cameras at all? I'm not going to contest that. I would expect cameras to be present somewhere at least, especially on property on site, to protect yourself in any situation, okay? If anyone has been to the place, the location, or passed by, if you've seen cameras yourself, you can reinforce it. I'm not going to question it, but what I am disappointed in is that cameras not working, but cameras were working. Well, how does that make sense? Well, that's what Stevie Howard did. Typical, isn't it? But I know the cameras weren't working, but why weren't they working? Why weren't they maintained? Lazy, reckless, oh well, I'm not there, so I'm not going to check the cameras all the time. But isn't it important to make sure that they're working? If there's a level of importance in the first place to have them installed for a particular reason, then you would hope that they would remain up and running for as long as possible, and every now and then you might check them, but I guess that wasn't the case. But Stevie did say that the footage, the cameras did show a person or some people leaving the party. Okay, but what time? Who were they? Was it before or after Noah leaving, supposedly? Not enough context, yet again. But honestly, if there's a handful of cameras around the back, the front, the sides, it would go a long way if that footage was retrieved. But this is the next problem. Just like with the casino footage, even if cameras aren't inside of the room where it took place at the casino, there's a time period, you know, like a ticking time bomb in which if you're not proactive enough, by the time you get a hold of that footage or the camera, the surveillance, it might have been deleted by then or overwritten with new footage. It happens. With the party house, no matter how many cameras there were, if it recorded stuff, but afterwards during the clean-up, possibly, things could have been deleted. There might have been some footage on the camera, even if it was insignificant, but on the day of the event or the day before, still important in terms of the timeline. It could show who and what people were doing and where were they, and did it tie in line with stuff or not, right? But you think of that search warrant, never followed up, never happened in the first place. If it happened now, there's less chance, less opportunities, because whatever might have been around at the time would have been fresh, now long gone. With the exception of some items, maybe with luminol. I'm not an expert there, but just things weren't followed up immediately. If they were followed up immediately and a search was done, search warrant of the property, the party house and all buildings nearby, do you think they would have checked the CCTV footage, and do you think they would have retrieved anything from it of value? Yes or no? It may never happen now, but when you look back at what could have gone right and how much easier would it have made the case, I think cameras would have cleared up a lot if they did work and if they were shown to the police or the family or to the public. You think of all the other cases you may have heard of, the high-profile important ones, and there might be a level of CCTV footage. It doesn't always clear up everything, but it's a starting point. And because there's so many people in this case, and they were doing this, other people were doing that, this person was asleep, no, that person wasn't, and it's all over the place. Oh, we'll check the text message, or we'll check the timestamp. Well, if that can be altered with, that doesn't help. Can CCTV footage surveillance, the date, the time of it, can that be altered with and changed? Because if not, well, that would have been the true raw piece of evidence and material to prove or disprove people. Inside footage or outside footage, we would have seen it as to what happened, and if audio was included or not, it would have gone a long way for certain, but I guess that will never happen. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there were some very important points mentioned along the way, which weren't exactly tied with the CCTV footage, but I just thought of it on the spot, so I might have to reconsider the title of this video. But hopefully you found it somewhat interesting. Leave your thoughts, comments down below, and I'll try and respond back to them later. But thanks for watching, appreciate that. I'll see you next time, whenever that is, and what it's about, we'll see. Goodbye for now.